AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor, Buddy Ray, and Andrew Kosiski.
Good morning, race fans, and welcome to the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Hope you are enjoying your day. I know I got tired of all the weather this week. It's going to be a much more beautiful day today, and we've got a great show lined up for you. In Turn 4, we're going to talk about Kansas and Richmond. We've got two races that are going to happen on the NASCAR circuit. Kansas, green flag in just a couple hours. Richmond International Raceway Saturday night. So we're going to be live Sunday morning, and we're going to break it all down for you. But we're going to give you a good preview for Kansas and Richmond. In Turn 3, the Superman, Stu Snyder, driver of the number 23S Rotten Racing car, is going to join us. Roten? It's a last name. I can't pronounce it, okay? Leave me alone. We're going to talk about his accident last year, his time off, recovery, and then any possible jitters when he sat back down in the car at the spring meltdown just a few weeks ago. Turn 2, we're going to talk about the fines levied against Penske Racing, and in Turn 1, we're going to talk about the fines levied against Michael Waltrip Racing. So without further ado, gentlemen, how was your week?
Wet and cold.
Wet and cold. Andrew, how was your week?
Same exact thing. It's been busy at work, but man, I don't like this rain. I'm ready to go racing.
We missed you last Sunday. We did the show live. You were in Denver for work. Even Father K wouldn't let you off to come do the show. So how was Denver?
It was okay. It's actually a lot warmer there than it was here, I come to find out. And there was snow on the ground. Really weird.
I know this sounds dumb, but I've always had this misconception that Denver is north of us. It's actually south.
South of us.
Yeah, I've always had that misconception, probably because it's closer to the Rockies and higher elevation, so it's always more snowy. And yeah, I'm kind of an idiot, but we've already covered that.
That's okay.
Let's get into the fines that were levied against Martin Truex Jr. First off, the backstory. We talked a little bit about it last Sunday, but we didn't have much information on it. The 56, after finishing second at Texas, was randomly selected. Actually, I believe it was selected because it was a top 5 car to be post-race inspected by NASCAR. Officials found that the car was too high after post-race inspection. Therefore, the car was taken back and done further testing on it. We found out Wednesday morning that crew chief Chad Johnson has been fined $25,000 and placed on NASCAR probation until June 5th. The team has also been docked 6 championship driver points towards Martin Truex Jr. and 6 championship owner points towards Michael Waltrip. Michael Waltrip Racing later came out with their statement, and they basically said, we're not going to be... Okay, here is the statement actually from Michael Waltrip Racing. Michael Waltrip Racing is sensitive to working with the guidelines of NASCAR policy. This infraction clearly occurred as a result of a malfunction caused by race conditions. Therefore, we will not appeal. We thank NASCAR for providing a fair and equitable platform for all of its competitors, and respect its decision.
Well spoken by Michael.
I was going to say, wow.
Oh, that's not Michael that put that together.
Well,
There's far too few words. That'd be like Buddy trying to put out a statement.
Yeah.
It'd be a 3-page statement.
NASCAR would pay him to just stop appealing.
I'm a little bit irritated with this fine. It passed practice inspection, passed qualifying inspection, and passed pre-race inspection. When it came out after the race, it was too low. And it was from a shock that had malfunctioned and failed. I honestly, it does irritate me a little bit that NASCAR has fined for something that happened on the track. Now, Texas is a bumpy track. It's got a couple of bumps. I believe it's in the middle of 1 and 2. Some pretty heavy bumps, especially on the low line, that it could work a shock loose.
Now, you said it was too high is what he got fined for?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Too high. It's too low. The shock broke and the car was sitting too low, which that wouldn't help either because it would rub the splitter on the asphalt, correct?
Correct.
Which would then take away a lot of his momentum. But either way, okay, here's my thing. That obviously didn't help his car, yet he still got fined. We saw it last year in the Nationwide Series when Austin Dillon, I can't remember the exact rules infraction. Something happened in the rear end of that car, and everyone agreed that it made the car incredibly loose. He was then fined 6 driver points and 6 owner points for the infraction, but everyone agrees that the rule, the failure hurt him. So explain to me, if you guys could, why NASCAR would decide to fine him for that.
To me, it don't make much sense.
You mean with Martin Truex's deal or Austin's
Well,
deal?
let's just go with Martin Truex since it's the latest one.
Well, I think the only reason why is because everybody's still got to be the same. By lowering the car down, it gets more downforce to the track. So they could say, well, it didn't help, the shock broke, and it was rubbing the whole time. But if it gives more downforce, there's a lot of guys that could complain about that and lower the car down and say, hey, my shock broke. That's what happened.
Now, I'm the eternal guy that I give people the benefit of the doubt. And whenever a situation like this comes out, I don't ever sit there. I try not to sit there and say, well, Martin Truex Jr. was obviously cheating. So I tried to think of a scenario as to why NASCAR would decide to fine him for something that it probably didn't help him, because it kind of feels like, well, he was hurt by not winning the race. Maybe I don't know. I just don't feel like he should have been fined. The only scenario I can think of that it would have worked is if these cars, the crew chiefs, the chief engineers were able to find a way to make that shock fail at a certain point in the race, to where enough of the race to where it passed pre-race inspection, but failed, then helping the car, and then he failed post-race inspection. And so if NASCAR was to sit there and say, well, he passed pre-race, it obviously happened during the race, so it's something he couldn't control, we're not going to fine him. I wouldn't put it past these teams to begin to find ways to rig bolts, shocks, all this stuff to fail at a time to where it will begin to benefit the car. Does that make sense?
I don't think they'd go to that extreme. There's too much money on. No,
really? You don't think a team would do that to where? So you have an opportunity to make a shock fail and win a race. You're not going to take that opportunity?
Shocks are really important. Andrew mentioned this 2 weeks ago on the show. Shocks are really important.
I know. But
you have a shock fail and the car spins out, hits the wall.
Okay.
Are you seriously going to want to jeopardize $250,000 car just
forget
a few points?
Forget about a shock then. Let's just say mysterious part A fails. And because of its failure, it benefits your car and makes you go faster. This is something that your team has researched and discovered. This will actually work. We take this Jimmy bar and we make its bolt fail, and all of a sudden the car goes a little bit faster because it's
Nobody will do that.
Really?
No.
I got one kind of from a couple years ago when Jimmy Johnson, he got DQ'd. Well, not DQ'd. It should be DQ'd, I think, in the sport, just like anything else. But he was fined for having his dry sump tank, which is where your oil goes in, the cap was too loose. It was either Jimmy or it was Carl Edwards, but I think it was Jimmy, where they go, well, it must have came loose. Well, nobody kind of thought anything of it until they found out that putting that on the dyno actually gains horsepower to the car by having that thing loose. It's stuff like that those guys will go to the extreme, and I believe they'd have something, and that is, maybe not a shock brake, but something like you said, a bolt or something to lower the car down. Yeah,
I can see them fining for the height issue if the shock had no damage to it from going over the bumps or the track. If the shock looks brand new, then okay. But if the shock's got damage, then come on, NASCAR.
And that's what I've got to assume. Well, I don't know. See, you know what they say about assuming? It just makes an ass out of you and me. But it would be incredibly difficult for my scenario. And my whole justification is that if NASCAR is going to fine for having a failure that will benefit, they're also going to fine for having a failure that will hurt the car. So they got to fine for both aspects just to keep things even, to make sure that crew chiefs aren't out there going, let's make that part fail, because during pre-race inspection, we could prove that it was absolutely fine. It was where it should have been. We were template right. We go out there and race a couple of times. We hit that bump at Texas. It breaks. Car tightens up. We're able to go faster. But then we can sit there and go, but NASCAR, it broke because, what I'm getting at is that, okay, fine. I'm going to give NASCAR the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to say, okay, there's a scenario out there, albeit far-fetched, but I don't dare put far-fetched scenarios past crew chiefs, car chiefs, and team owners, because there's a lot of money on the line. Am I making any sense?
You're making 100% sense right there, but we got to kind of think 6 points really isn't a whole lot. It can make or break you still, but 6 points really is enough. I think it's more just, hey, he was too low. Let's not have anybody complain about this, because he did have a great run this week. Yeah. So I think they slapped him on the wrist and said, hey, don't. Let's try not to do that again, but I understand. I agree.
Fine number 2 that we didn't really get to talk about because the race happened Sunday night at Rockingham. There was a lot of conversation about this on the Front Stretch Facebook page when NASCAR decided to not sit Ron Hornaday after his altercation with Darrell Wallace Jr. At the Rockingham race. Now, let me paint a picture for you guys and tell me if it sounds familiar. Under green, two guys are racing hard against each other. Darrell Wallace is on the bottom line. Ron Hornaday's on the top. Darrell kind of runs it a little too hot, slides up and hits Ron, uses the 8-tire old theory, and then drives away. A couple laps later, I believe it was just about a half lap to a lap later, caution comes out. Ron runs up to the back of him. He goes over to the left side and tries to wreck him. Fails, so he goes over to the right side, turns him into the wall while under caution, wrecking Darrell Wallace, ruining his day, and Darrell's done for the day. Ron gets sent to the back of the field for rough driving. On Wednesday, NASCAR came out and fined him $25,000 and put him on probation until June 6th. Does wrecking under caution sound like any other story we've heard before?
No, not with Ron Hornaday.
No, as I say.
It's funny that it's Ron Hornaday that executed it, because last time it was Ron Hornaday that got executed. And we're referring to the Kyle Busch-Ron Hornaday incident at Texas.
What's that prove? He actually can learn something in racing.
What are you talking about?
He gets wrecked, so he learns how to wreck somebody else.
I don't think Ron Hornaday needed to do any wrecking before Sunday.
I think Ron's
the guy's
been racing for a long
He knows how to
time.
wreck somebody.
Yeah.
And the conversation on the Front Stretch's Facebook page with one of the fans was, this is the exact, and the conversation with this is the exact same scenario. It's really not the exact same scenario. Obviously, we know that weekend Kyle Busch was parked for the remainder of that race and for the Nationwide in the Cup race. He was then fined, and then it was a quid pro quo suspension. His penalty obviously more than Ron Hornaday's, and I don't think the scenarios are completely the same, because Ron Hornaday, first off, isn't Kyle Busch and is not having the same issues that Kyle Busch was having. He was causing a lot of problems over the last couple of years, and I think with that situation, NASCAR took the time to go, all right, that's it. We're tired of this guy being in our trailer every couple of weeks with some situation. We're going to sit him, we're going to make him think about it. I think that's the only difference in the whole thing, is the fact that it's Ron Hornaday and it's Kyle Busch. You can't take similar scenarios and find them the exact same way. You have to take the situation and the scenario all into one and figure out how to find it.
It's almost by a case-by-case basis.
Exactly. You can't take what they did to Kyle Busch and automatically apply it to Ron Hornaday. Now, that being said, I absolutely think Ron should have been sat. I think he should have been pulled out of the truck. And I talked about this last time, that when we talked about the whole Kyle Busch situation in 2011 when he pulled that. Wrecking under caution. Do you guys see that as dirty or a better way of getting wrecked? Because you're not going as fast. Would you rather be wrecked under green? Is it cheap? Is it dirty? Is it like a cheap shot?
Yeah.
Andrew, what do you think?
It's a cheap shot. It's trying to make a statement, but I mean, it's better than being wrecked under green, because you saw like Logano and Hamlin. It sounded like the same kind of deal there, but I don't know. It's just kind of cheap.
All right, let's head over to Turn 2 and talk about the fines from the 2 and the 22. We'll be right back. This is the Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609. 308-383.
This is Andrew from Kaziski Auto Parts. Kaziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kaziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycle parts supplier. Call any Kaziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kaziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
We're working the high line into Turn 2 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Well, deuces are wild, according to NASCAR, and a little too wild at Texas Motor Speedway. Turn 2, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs. Online at joeskarting.com. Karting with a K, 23rd Ave in Council Bluffs. Get off on that corn sculpture-looking bridge. Head north.
Yeah.
Follow the road around, past all the truck stops.
Actually, right now, I'm advising everybody, don't get off at the 24th Street exit. Get off at the Nebraska Avenue, a.k.a. Ameristar exit. They're doing some major construction right there.
Oh, so take 29 north?
Yep.
And get off on the Ameristar
exit
get off there. That is a little bit easier way to go, actually, because that South 24th and Council Bluffs, until they get the truck stops out of there, that's a horrible road to be on.
We had the coolest thing happen Saturday night.
I saw that, and we talked about it Sunday with the Mario guys.
We had 10 people show up as Super Mario, all the characters from Super Mario in costume, racing the go-karts.
How drunk were they?
None. They weren't drunk at all. They were super cool.
Let's talk about the fines between the 2 and the 22. First off, we'll start off with the fines on the 22. Now, both cars were found to be in violation of a lot of NASCAR sections of the rule book that I'm not going to repeat off because, frankly, you're stirring your coffee with a spoon, and I'd be afraid you'd shove it in your eye if I read this paragraph off. Let's do basically what happened. They had illegal modifications to the rear end of their cars, and NASCAR confiscated the parts, required them to change the parts, and then get back out on the grid for Saturday night's race at Texas. The 2 was able to. The 22 was a little late. That's why he started in the back of the pack. On Wednesday, the following fines were handed down for the 22 team. Crew chief Todd Gordon has been fined $100,000 and suspended from NASCAR until the completion of 6 NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship points events, and this does include the non-points Sprint All-Star race. And then he has also been placed on probation until December 31st.
So is that basically 7 events that he's...
No, 6.
So then 5 points races plus the All-Star race.
Right, which is very odd because they said 6 NASCAR Sprint Series championship point events, including the non-points. So that must be 7 races.
Yeah.
Says it's 6 points paying, so he got pegged for 7 races. I didn't even
almost 2 months
put that together. Yeah. And then Raymond Fox, who is the team engineer, Samuel Stanley, Raymond Fox is a car chief, and Samuel Stanley, who is the team engineer, has been suspended from NASCAR. Both also 7 races. They've all been suspended for the same amount of time. And then placed on probation until December 31st. They lost 25 championship driver points for Joey Logano and 25 championship owner points, which went to Walt Kosmeski, who is the official owner of the 22 car. As for the 2 car, Paul Wolf has been fined $100,000, placed on NASCAR suspension and probation. He is suspended for 6 points-paying races plus the All-Star race and placed on probation until December 31st. Car chief Jerry Kelly, team engineer Brian Wilson, and team manager Travis Geisler. Travis is the team manager for both teams. They have been suspended from NASCAR for the same amount of time and placed on probation until December 31st. Brad Keselowski's been fined 25 championship driver points, and Roger Penske has been fined 25 championship owner points.
Wow.
You know what would be kind of cool in all this? Is if NASCAR took maybe, I don't know, a Sprint phone and took pictures and actually posted that on the website, so we see exactly what they're seeing.
They do that. When they are done inspecting it, they will have those rear end housings on display next to the NASCAR hauler today at Kansas, so that teams can go up to it and see exactly what was done wrong. Something I found to be very interesting. Take a wild guess, if you will, buddy. What team was parked next to the 2 and the 22?
The 48.
Well, I don't know if it was a 48, but it was a Hendricks team. And rumor mill, again, I'm saying rumor mill, has it that it was a crew member from Hendricks organization that notified NASCAR they felt that the rear end housing for the 2 and the 22 were illegally modified, and that's the reason why NASCAR began sniffing around those 2 cars.
So it is the rear end housing itself?
Yes.
Andrew, what could you possibly modify on a rear end housing? And I'm thinking just the center section and the tubes, not the gears, not the calipers, rotors, drive flanges. I'm thinking the housing, because everybody knows they're cambered already.
Correct, but I believe on those cars, Bud, they don't have like bird cages like we do. So shock mounts. They could have their shock mount lower, angled a different way. I mean, anything to just get more traction
Their
out of the car.
trailing arms could have oval holes.
I mean, I'm guessing that they had to have modified a shock mount is all I can think of on that.
I'm thinking shock mount or even the trailing arm mount. That's a good point.
All right, well, let's clarify this, and I apologize. I'm going to read some of this information. All suspension systems and components must be approved by NASCAR prior to being used in competition. All suspension system and components must be submitted in a completed form assembly to the Office of NASCAR Competition Administrator for consideration of approval and approved by NASCAR. Each such part may therefore be used by NASCAR determines that such part is no longer eligible. All suspension fasteners and mounting hardware must be made of solid metallic steel. All front end and rear end suspension mounts with mounting hardware assembly must have a single round mounting hole that are correct size for the fasteners being used. All front end and rear end suspension mounts and mounting hardware must not allow movement or realignment of any suspension component beyond normal rotation or suspension travel. So you're right. I don't think it was actually the housing itself. Sounds like what it was mounted to.
I think it was more where they mounted something on the housing.
I agree. Because, listen, we learned this year with the Gen 6, they've increased the camber on the rear end of these tires. So they're beginning to find out. I mean, obviously, logic tells you when you increase the camber, when you're in those turns, there's going to be more rubber on the road, which everyone is what we want. Sounds like Penske was kind of pushing that a little bit. I find it very ironic that just last August, Brad Keselowski sat in the post-race interview and said there are teams that have very suspicious rear ends and that you could see it as you're driving down the straightaways that these are trailing out a little bit. Who was he talking about again?
The 48 team, the Hendricks organization, I believe.
That's right. He was talking about Hendrick.
Hey,
so do you think he copied them and maybe, oh man, I got caught instead of he did, and now they changed it up because somebody was onto him?
Like that's never happened to us in dirt racing.
Listen, here's the thing. We always joke about Chad Knaus having the gray area. Well, he didn't get caught. Brad Keselowski's team did. Paul Wolf did. The Penske organization did get caught. I just find it very funny that it was Hendrick that was the one that turned him in. You think maybe Brad's sitting there going, maybe I should just keep my mouth shut from now on?
That could be.
Because he made a lot of drivers upset with that comment, not only in the Hendrick organization, but all other drivers, because there is a gray area that these guys do kind of explore and try to find new areas. But it sounds like this wasn't a gray area violation. This was a set violation, and by the level of fines that were thrown against these guys, sounds like NASCAR caught them red-handed.
Oh, $100,000 fine? Yeah, I'm thinking.
Suspensions.
Yeah.
What is this going to do for the two? Andrew, you and I are not big Brad Keselowski fans. We kind of feel like he's being propped up a little bit by Paul Wolf in his pit strategy. That's not to say he's not a good driver. I think he is a very good driver. I think he's got talent. But let's face it, last week in Texas, he was a lap down and running horrible. And then all of a sudden, pit strategy came into place. The guy gets himself a, 6th, 7th place finish?
Always does.
So Paul Wolf's pit strategy is what keeps him in the hunt for these wins in these races. Now, again, I just want to say, it's not to say that he doesn't have talent, but obviously Paul Wolf's strategy is going to do it. Big time. I mean, this is these are big time fines right here. This is seriously going to hurt both of these drivers. Do you think it's going to keep them out of the chase?
No.
It's tough to say.
It's going to be hard. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to wait. I think Logano's in trouble. He's been fast. But Brad, I don't know. You never know.
It's tough to say, but
he's still good.
You didn't just lose the points. You lost the guy that's in charge of setting your car up. Essentially, you lost your star wide receiver. If the driver's going to be compared to the quarterback, or you lost your running back.
I understand what you're saying there.
You lost your caveat.
As we're calling it, the quarterback, whatever.
Yeah.
The backups, the assistants that sit next to him every week are very well capable of being a crew chief for any one of these teams, but they're still not that man.
Those guys are suspended too. Generally, the ones sitting next to him are the chief engineer and the car chief. All of them have been suspended.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they came down heavy on this organization. Now, it is fair to say that the 2 and the 22 are appealing their fines. So Paul Wolf and Todd Gordon will be at the track this weekend. Everyone will resume business as usual until the appeal is heard. Once that appeal is heard, the suspensions will then be either lifted or carried out. Final question for you guys. Roger Penske's obviously one of the most respected guys in the garage. Has a lot of that old-time character that we're missing in today's society. Loyalty, trust. This is a incredibly ugly stain on his reputation. Are people terminated as a result of this?
No.
No, it's going to be just like I think he's going to have a sit down with everybody in the garage. He's going to say, all right, everybody sit here. We're going to have a meeting. This is your one and last warning. I've never been in trouble before. I've never cheated in my life. You get caught one more time, you'll be asked to leave my garage.
I think I agree with that. I kind of wondered if maybe he wouldn't do it as put somebody up as a martyr. Okay, I'm firing this guy because he's important to me. It's kind of like sitting your star guy down that screwed up in the week, and you need to make an example so that no one else screws up. But I think after Andrew's explanation, I agree. Let's get over to turn 3. We're going to talk with driver number 23S Sprint Car. Stu Snyder, we're going to talk about his rehabilitation and return to a Sprint Car just a few weeks ago at the Spring Meltdown on I-80. We'll be right back. It's the Front Stretch presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
For 50 years, Eagle Raceway has been pushing the limits of dirt track racing. Saturday nights, come see the Midwest's best battle at the fastest third-mile track. Gates open at 5:30 for IMCA Modifieds, Sport Compacts, Hobby Stocks, Sport Mods, and Race Saver Sprint Cars. Eagle kicks their season off on April 19th with the Icebreaker Challenge, featuring the debut of the Race Saver Sprint Cars. Located just 10 minutes east of Lincoln on Highway 34 and online at eagleraceway.com.
If you love rings and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch into Turn 3, and as we always do, we're going to have a conversation with a local dirt track driver, and we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, driver of the number 23S Roten Racing Sprint Car. On the phone, Stu Snyder, Superman himself. Stu, how you doing, man?
Doing good.
You like that intro?
Yeah, that intro is awesome.
I thought you were going to start flying.
I feel like I should walk out with a lightsaber or something like that.
Oh, we'll go with the cape. How's that?
Sounds good.
Let's back up a little bit as far as what happened to you at the end of last season, because we're going to talk a lot about what it's like sitting back down in a sprint car after your accident. If you'll take us through that October night down in Kansas, what happened?
Well, I don't really remember much of it. So we were running USAC wingless tour there through August, about a 5-night deal. We had a good race, good race going. All 3 nights we'd went so far, we'd ran really well. And I remember pulling a wheel stand down the front stretch in the feature. We were moving up through there pretty good. And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in a helicopter. And I broke my neck in 3 different spots, broke my back in 4 different spots, had 3 brain bleeds, as well as 2 skull fractures, swelled my lungs shut. It was kind of an eye opener, I think. But just something on the car broke. And the next thing you know, I remember looking over the steering wheel at the dirt, thinking, uh-oh, this ain't good. So I shut the motor off, and that's where everything started happening.
Do you know what broke on the car?
We had a front axle on the bat wings that actually the front radius rods connect to on the right front is pretty much what everybody's figured out happened. It just broke. And it immediately set me up on the right front looking down at the dirt, and the first thing to hit the racetrack was the top of the cage.
Whew. Took the rest of 2012 off for obviously recovering. Do you think you could have came back at the end of the season, or were you still pretty immobile?
Oh, I wanted to, but they weren't going to let me. I was pretty much ready to come back, the next week. I think I was at KU Med for a little over a week, and then the week after I got home on a Sunday. I think I was back at Eagle Raceway watching the races that very next weekend. But in a wheelchair, in a turtle shell, kind of was what they were calling the brace that I was in. No real mobility at all. I was in that for about a month and a half. It was kind of, one of those things. I look back on it and probably shouldn't have done it. We were leading ASCS Midwest points. We pretty much just had to show up to the last 4 races, make the main event, and we would have won another championship. But, I'm a racer, and you're going to race anything that you can, and especially with the USAC guys, a great group of people. And, we had some good runs with them.
You think, looking back, Stu, taking all that time off, you think that's actually helped you looking forward to your 2013 season?
Well, I think in some ways it does. You take the time to get focused. I've got a lot more time to get focused than what everybody else did and get things lined up. But it hurts you as a driver. I sat out from August 5th all the way up until April 5th out at I-80, and Friday night was really good. I noticed that I had all my reaction times back, and everything was good. But it definitely, you're out of the car for that long. You lose a little bit of the edge that you had.
Now, I understand. I've been one that has gotten a wreck before. Nothing like you've done before, though. Do you check everything over twice as much now? I mean, you making sure everything on that car's tight, nothing's going to break. You check it for cracks every week, 2 times a week, or are you just doing your normal routine?
Well, I do the normal routine. I've got to. You've got to just say, okay, it happened, and we go on from there. As well as I do as a driver, if there's something in the back of your mind when you go to strap down in that thing, you're not going to be 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And the great group of guys that I got, that work on this car, they've went over everything 3 or 4 times, and I've helped them here in the shop too do the same thing. But I know, like I've known since we kind of gathered this group together when I started driving for Eldon, there wasn't any doubt in my mind that anything on this car wasn't 100% and wasn't tight with the guys that we got. I mean, they're amazing, and that helps me as a driver tremendously.
Talking with Stu Snyder, driving the number 23S Sprint car. Stu, a couple of weeks ago you were able to sit down in the car for the first time at the spring meltdown. Was there any butterflies, worries about knocking the rust off and getting back into the car?
It was pretty good on Friday. I mean, hot laps was kind of a little shaky, but I usually you go through that a little bit when the first time you get back in a car for the season. You're trying to get I don't know. You're just trying to get everything back lined up the way that it was supposed to be when you got out the year before. But hot laps was a little shaky. Once we started, we drew a horrible number and we started tail into the heat race. When I come off of turn 2 on the bottom and past 3 cars, I was like, okay, I can still do this. And we worked our way back up to third. Immediately after the heat races, we were in the redraw. 1 through 8, we draw 8. Can't get a 1,
Yeah.
And the first 2 laps of the feature, I'd ran all the way up through there with, following Jack a little bit. And we were setting 5th on the first caution. And I thought, wow, we might have something for these boys. This is going to be pretty awesome. First time back in the car and new motor, new car. Everything was top of the line stuff. And and the track took rubber a lot harder than what we thought that it was going to, and should have changed the gear. Ended up finishing 8th that night, but it was pretty good. The parents they had some doubts and some butterflies, and Eldon and the crew, and they all knew that I could do it, but they were worried about me. So it was good to be able to come out swinging like we did, and lay down a good night's run right out of the gate.
Stu, with a lot of drivers nationwide, we've heard, other sprint car drivers, passing away from their injuries or wrecks on the track. We've heard of late model drivers being injured, modified drivers being injured. For those out there, say for you, example, overcoming your injuries, what advice do you have for these other drivers that are getting, strapping back in the seat after being injured?
I think that it's probably, the most important thing is to make sure that you're 100% healed. You can't really, it's not like going to the gym or catching a football or something like that. There's no real way to practice this as far as just getting in a car and going out and racing. But you got to make sure that you're 100%. So there's no doubt in your mind when you strap down that car that you're 100% healed and nothing's going to happen to you. And make sure that you have the best safety equipment that you can have. That's the main thing. That way maybe you won't be in those shoes, but if something does happen, when you strap down in, there's no doubt in your mind you're 100%, and everything that you got around you is 100%.
Do you think you'll ever run a wingless again?
Well, I think I will. Nobody else really wants to let me, though.
It depends on who has finals.
Nobody else really wants to go back down that road again. But, I think I don't really want to run a wingless sprint car anymore, just because we weren't as good night in and night out as we are with the wing. I'd like to run, some midget stuff, maybe down at the Chili Bowl or some big paying shows here and there. But I'm pretty sure we're done racing wingless sprint cars.
So, Stu, it's easy, kind of a question here. It's easy to assume you're 100% then.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're
and we're 100%, so.
If you're 100% now, let's get to the nitty-gritty. What's 2013 looking like? What's your schedule? Where are you going?
Well, we're definitely going to run the new Nebraska 360 Sprint Tour. Great group of guys. We're trying to get it up and going. Hopefully we can all come together, make this deal fly. We've got a bunch of shows so far. We're going to run the ASCS Midwest Tour. I'm going to try and make it over to Knoxville for the 360 Nationals. As long as everything is going good, I think that's one of our bigger shows. That is one of the biggest shows for 360s. And try and get up to Houston and Hartford, South Dakota again when we got our off weekends where we're not doing too much. There's not a lot of Nebraska stuff going on. We'll go up and hit those and race with some friends up there. And great group tracks, a lot of fun. Just to make sure, you keep that edge every single week.
Looks like your next race is going to be April 27th at Butler County Speedway.
Yep.
For the and that's going to be a part of the 360 series. So
that's actually next weekend.
Yeah.
We were tossing around the idea. We got the car ready to go up to Jackson in Minnesota. They had a big paying race up there. The last time we went up there, we clean swept everything. So we thought, hey, well, let's go up there. But Mother Nature, and I think they still have about 8 inches of snow on their racetrack. So they postponed that race. So, April 27th at Rising City is the next show for us. Hopefully the weather stays away this weekend as far as on Sunday, and hopefully we can make it up there and do a little practicing, do a little testing with some new ideas that we got, and we'll be ready to go then.
I've already got a mental image with Superman Stu Snyder and a 800 horsepower winged snowblower. That'd look kind of cool up there, Jackson.
Yeah. And if the weather keeps going the way that it is, we're going to have to just invest our money in snowblowers, and we can make something real cool. We could, make a snowmobile sprint car or something.
I'm getting the feeling Mother Nature's not much of a race fan. We're going to have to do something about this because this is a bunch of crap.
We have the Superman on the phone. I mean, Superman, if you ever watch cartoons, he moves Mother Earth. I'm sure you can move the sun a little closer, Stu. Come on.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be nice.
What else do you have going on this year? Any plans to go and race some big points paying or big purse races that you can think of?
Well, just more or less, trying to we were going to go up to Jackson, and we're waiting to see when they reschedule that race. We'll try and get up there and do that one again. Like I said, we're going to try and do the 360 Nationals over at Knoxville. But definitely going to keep the wing on. And hoping that, if there's any other big shows, I'm sure kind of depending on how the season's going and what we're doing, hopefully Eldon will let us hop in the truck and go on down to Short Track Nationals at the end of the year. I've ran that once. I liked it. It was a lot of fun. Only missed the race by one passing point. Now that I'm in a stellar ride with Eldon and Paul and Roden, I'd like to go down there and run that race again.
Let me dumb it up just a little bit. And I mean, everybody knows I'm only partially into my second dirt track season. So I'm going to ask you a couple of basic wingless versus winged sprint car questions. When you talk about racing a wingless, I mean, you're just taking the wing off of your car. You don't have a second wingless, right?
No. Well, they have wingless cars. They're a little bit lower to the ground as far as your cockpits are a little bit smaller. But, basically, if you're a low-budget team, even a medium budget, even a normal-sized team, it's a lot quicker for us just to pop the wings off the thing, put a different style right rear tire on the thing with a different wheel, and go at it.
How much of a driving difference is it without that wing for downforce?
It's night and day. There is absolutely no... You don't have any downforce at all.
Really?
And you don't really realize it until you take the wings off and you sit down in a wingless car. There's an awful lot of throttle control and using the brake and a lot more stuff that goes into it. It's more of a driver. It puts the driver back in the car. A lot of these guys, a lot of people say, you sit down in a wing car, they're pretty easy. As long as the setups are good, the track's pretty good, you can lock the throttle down wide open and never have to turn the wheel. When you sit down in a wingless car, you've got to be the one that turns the car into the corner, keeps it underneath you, keeps the tires from buzzing off the thing. So there's a night and day difference.
What about the future for Superman Stu Snyder? Any aspirations of World of Outlaws, maybe moving up to an asphalt ARCA series or anything like that? I
think it would be really cool to be able to run, night in and night out against the best there is in the wing sprint cars. That's racing with the World of Outlaws. But I'm going to try and do the best I can in a 360 race, maybe throw in a 410 show here and there until something could come along where I could possibly hit the road with the Outlaws. I'd love to do that. I don't really have any aspirations anymore to do any pavement stuff. We'll just leave it to NASCAR on Sunday.
You'll stick with the dirt on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I'll definitely be sticking to dirt. The pavements, I've been to a few, and we ran some midgets on pavement when I was living out in California, and it's kind of boring racing when you're sitting in the seat.
Just not your cup of tea, huh?
No, it's a lot funner to throw 3 slide jobs on the same guy in 4 laps, 2 laps or even the same lap, and end up getting him. I mean, that's where the excitement's at.
Yeah. All right, you can catch Stu Snyder at Butler County Speedway in Rising City, Nebraska this coming Saturday, April 27th. It's a part of the 360s. Then what's coming up after that? What do you have on your schedule after that?
It looks like, I think we start back up with the ASCS Midwest guys again.
Okay.
I want to say it's a national show. Actually, we don't. We start back at Butler County again on May 18th.
Okay, so you got about a 2-week break.
We're going to try and find something. Yeah, we're going to try and find something in between there. I can guarantee that.
Okay. Keep up.
All the northern guys open up the first week of May, second week of May. So we'll probably try and go up there and run Houston or go to Hartford or something like that.
If you're not a fan of Stu Snyder on Facebook, get over there now. He'll keep you up to date as far as where he's racing. Do you have a website that you also keep up to date?
No, not at this time. That's going to get done this season, though, definitely. Here, hopefully, in probably about a month to say that, to kind of put it out there. It'll be about a month, and we'll have a website up to where everybody can check it out, and make sure they know where we're at. But right now, we just rely on good old Facebook, and everybody knows how to find me on that deal, and we'll have the schedule of where we're going that exact night, because when Jackson rained out, then we were going down to Grain Valley, Missouri. So
yeah. Do you have any gear people can buy? memorabilia
t-shirts?
people?
Oh, yeah. We're in the works right now with Downforce Designs, Austin Wheatley, with getting the design kind of finalized. That way we can send them to the printer. We can have more T-shirts again.
All right, Stu, we always appreciate having you on. It's great talking to you. Glad you're able to get back in the seat, and I enjoyed watching you a couple of weeks ago at the Spring Meltdown.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Have a great 2013, and hopefully talk to you soon, bud.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Stu Snyder, driver of the number 23S sprint car.
Is his name Stuart?
It's Stuart.
They call him Stu for short.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of thought it was weird right there. Hey, Stuart.
Or if you're one of his groupies, Andrew, you can call him Superman.
We're going to break down Kansas and Richmond just around the corner. You're enjoying the front stretch. At least we hope you're enjoying the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
The Front Stretch presents the Legends of Tomorrow. This week, we focus on 12-year-old Sam Porter of Lincoln, Nebraska. In just his third year, Sam has claimed track champion and runner-up at Mini E for the Cage Kart division. Sam leans on his twin sister Abby for support, and she loves helping him out, wearing the title of Car Chief. Sam is also busy off the racetrack with extracurricular activities such as YMCA flag football, and he also plays midget football for Lincoln Executive Club. Sam is also an avid hunter and fisherman who has already tagged a few deer and countless pheasants in his time. He's already been awarded 2 Nebraska Master Angler certificates. Sam never passes up an opportunity to go camping and spend time at the lake. Sam's racing inspiration is local sprint car driver Trevor Grossenbacher, and he's a big fan of Dale Jr. Support from Tire Fuel LLC, Rawhide Energy, Status Chassis, Lincoln Industries, Lincoln Chrome, and Lincoln Performance Coating has put this week's Legend of Tomorrow on a path to success. This week's Legend of Tomorrow, Sam Porter on the front stretch.
The Silver Dollar Nationals are returning to I-80 Speedway on July 18th, 19th, and 20th. Don't miss the nation's top USMTS, MLRA, and Lucas Oil dirt late model racers as they compete at Nebraska's fastest track. Come watch the nation's best dirt track racers compete for a $27,000 to win payout. Ticket prices and packages at 402-342-3453. The third annual Silver Dollar Nationals at I-80 Speedway, July 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Turn 4, presented by Kaziski Auto Parts, 51st and I Street in Omaha, 731-4592. How's everything going down at Kaziski Auto Parts for you guys?
It's been pretty good. I mean, I haven't been around in April too much. March was a great month. This month's been kind of slow, but it's really picking back up. I see tax money's coming again.
Hey, what about I-80? I noticed they launched a new website. That looks fantastic.
They did, and they put us, Kaziski Auto Parts, on that site. They put the SLMR, Kaziski Auto Parts, Little Sunset, and I-80 all on the same site. We figured if it's the same owners for both places, they might as well include everything. They just haven't got our site at Kaziski Auto Parts done yet, which it's coming pretty soon, and I'm pretty pumped about it because it needs to be done.
Green flag for the STP 400 at Kansas Speedway, just around the corner. Previous winners at Kansas. Let's talk 2011, your first winner in the June race of 2011. Our series defending champion Brad Keselowski brought home the win. Then later in October, Jimmy Johnson got his win. In 2012, let's see, Tony Stewart got the win this time last year. And in the October race, Matt Kenseth took the victory home. We talked with Pat Warren. He said that the track has worn down just a little bit, but not a lot, and that he is starting to see a few cracks on the surface, but not big ones, enough to where he feels that there's going to be a little bit more tire wear and a little bit more give up, but not a lot. And he also did bring up the fact that didn't expect Goodyear to be changing the tire compound. At least last weekend when we had our conversation with them, they had not talked about changing that tire compound at all. So we expect to see the same tires that we saw last October, which then resulted in several tires being blown. But what are you expecting to see today at Kansas?
I think we're going to see some different style of driving. With that being said, I think your qualifying speeds and whatnot are going to be faster than your previous race record speeds. Biggest concern for me is after 12 cautions last year, how well are the tires going to hold up at Kansas Speedway?
Andrew, what are you expecting to see today from Kansas?
You know what? I think with the tires, last year was a problem with cars blowing tires. I think with this Gen 6, it's faster. It's a looser car. I really think it's going to be a scramble out there. I think it's going to be a better race. I hope more passing, loosen up them cars, make them fast, and I think we're going to see a new winner. Just like seems like every year at Kansas we get a new winner, and I think we're going to see another one today.
I agree with you, and that leads us to our picks. Andrew, you had a rough last weekend taking Kurt Busch, who ended up finishing 37th. So who do you pick today?
I'm going to go with a new guy, hometown hero, Clint Boyer.
All right, and I picked second because I took Casey Kane, who came home in 11th. So I'm going to take the other hometown hero. I'm taking the 99 of Carl Edwards. I got a feeling about Carl. He's definitely gotten that monkey off of his back that he had last year. I think he's got all the ghosts and goblins shaken out of that car. And after Texas and the good luck he had there, I think he's poised to do well at Kansas. I'm not entirely confident he's going to get the win, but I think he's got a good
I just got to hear it one more time. Who's in first place in points? By how many points?
I think Jimmy Johnson's leading the points.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson is leading the points. Yep. He's up by Brad Keselowski. Well, last time I checked, it was 9, but now he's over Brad Keselowski by 34 points.
You guys just ain't going to give it to me, are you?
Not a chance. Who are you taking, bud?
Man, I don't know because
I could probably guess his pick.
Yeah, I think we can all guess his pick. But you do realize you have picked the winner of last year's race every time that it has been available.
I have not.
You have to. You absolutely have.
I don't know. Kansas is a tricky track. Anybody can win that. Andrew's even mentioned that time to time. I think I'm going to go Matt Kenseth.
Well, shocker.
No, man, didn't he win there last time?
Guess who won October of last year?
Race car driver.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth. Driving the number 17. Yes. You remember we were trying to get into the media center to do an interview and they kicked us out?
Oh. That's right, because you were hitting on the door attendant.
Hey, she was cute. Listen, if she's going to hold the door open for me, I'm going to show her a little bit of love. Speaking of a little bit of love, next week, this coming Wednesday, actually, we record our first Slingin' Dirt of 2013. If you have not heard of the Slingin' Dirt, it's one of our more popular YouTube podcasts. We throw it up on the Joe's Karting YouTube page. You can find it on the Front Stretch Facebook page, but it's our weekly breakdown of what's going on in the dirt world. There's going to be some changes this year. We're 4 days away from recording, 3 days away from recording our first one, and we still haven't completely decided what we're going to do, but that's what Drinking Tonight is for.
The nice thing is
Quaker Steak and Lube at our favorite watering hole. We're going to go down there and watch the race and get the Slingin' Dirt for this year hammered out.
The Slingin' Dirt, for the listeners that haven't heard this, it's all local dirt. It's unedited. It's raw. It's a lot of fun, and we've had some good debates on the Slingin' Dirt in the past with some of our guests, Roger, Adam Gullion, Smiley and French Sutton. That was a historical one, to say the least.
One, yeah. So that Slingin' Dirt will debut. We record it on Wednesday nights. We put it up on the YouTube page every Thursday morning, because you can't if you record something on Tuesday. Whatever. So we post it every Thursday morning so you guys can enjoy that and comment on it. Also, it sounds like that Wednesday we're going to talk about your trip to I-35, which we have ran out of time in both shows since you have been down there. And we're going to talk about the Joe's Karting Dirt Series on there, too. We'll get you updates. So
yeah, even the reality show we're coming out with.
Next weekend, we are going to be live talking about what happened at Kansas and Richmond. Get your phones ready. We're going to try something new, and to be honest with you,
we're a little nervous.
Dear Lord, this is probably going to be a bad idea. We're going to take some live phone calls. Your opinions on what happened at Kansas and Richmond, anything that happened with rules infractions. We'll throw out a couple of topics, and we'll let you guys kind of decide on what you want to talk about, and we'll take your phone calls. We'll get that all for you live next Sunday morning, right here on AM 590. This has been The Front Stretch. We thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Kansas, the STP 400, just around the corner. It's The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609. 308-383
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.